charts nutritional for you. So extremely, extremely good food to have.
We've been talking to the environment
now okay.
for about 6 to 9 months.
Oh, we lost somebody. So just to get started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I got started in the sprouting, and then tell you a little bit different ways that we can get sprouting at home. My wife was diagnosed with cancer back in 1993, and we went through all that. And she found a way, it's more of a lifestyle where you can actually start eating sprouts and green juices and things like that. And she's been cancer-free now for 25 years. Unfortunately, back in 2004, I was diagnosed with severe Crohn's disease. So she basically put me on her lifestyle. So God has a sense of humor, and sometimes he kicks you in the head to listen to him. And we started growing sprouts just for ourselves, and we quickly realized that people really needed the benefits of this. And some of the sprouts that we do, now I'm from gotsprouts.com if you want to check out our website. We do wheatgrass, sunflower sprouts, pea greens, broccoli microgreens, which are extremely beneficial for you. Just to kind of tell you a little bit about sprouts. Sprouts are the most nutritious food on the planet. They contain anywhere from 10 to 400 times the nutritional value of their adult counterparts. And give you a great example of that are little broccoli microgreens. These little guys right here. Broccoli, 1 ounce of broccoli is the same as eating 1.5 pounds of adult broccoli nutritionally. So it's packed nutrition. And while we're talking about broccoli sprouts, back in 1994, Johns Hopkins University did a study on broccoli sprouts, and they found a phytochemical called sulforaphanes. And according to the study, sulforaphanes actually inhibit the growth of cancer cells. So you've seen the price of broccoli skyrocket recently. That's why. It's really to do a lot of research on this. So definitely, Mom was right. Get broccoli into your diet. Do as much as you can. So very important. Some of the things I'm going to show you today are 3 different ways that we can actually sprout. If anybody remembers back in the 70s, you know, the hippies used to do the sprouting in the mason jars and the canning as well. But you can actually sprout in mason jars. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The next one I'm going to show you is the easy sprouter. And it's a little bit easier than the mason jar, so I'm going to show you that as well. These will be pretty quick, and it's very simple what I'm going to be showing you. And then the last one is what they call the nut milk bag. And you can actually sprout in this as well. So it's 3 different ways. It's pretty much sprouted the same way in each one. So you can take a little notes there, and you'll be able to do this very quickly. Okay? It's very, very simple. Before we get started, I'd like to tell people about this too. A very good friend of mine is a health educator down here at Hippocrates Health Institute, and that's a teaching and wellness facility that teaches about the living food lifestyle. And I begged her for years to do a sprout cookbook for me because all of her recipes are so good. And last year she came up and dropped this on my lap, and this is what it's called. It's called Simply Sprouts by Linda Fries. She's a health educator locally here. She also has a television show up in Canada called healtheasygreen.com, so you can check that out as well. And she basically, what she did went well above anything I asked her to do. She shows you how to sprout in the very first part of the book, and then she does breakfast, lunch, and dinner recipes, juicing recipes, and also dessert recipes in her book. So I highly recommend you take a look at this book when you get a chance. It's all great pictures. What I'm going to be showing you today is really the first part of her book. And she'll show you all different ways you can sprout at home as well. And this is a picture of her kitchen window, if I can find it here, in Canada, showing that you can sprout very easily right in your kitchen window. So I don't know if you can see that okay. But you basically just put a couple of shelves up, put a couple of trays together, and you can sprout in anything. You can sprout in little take-it-home trays. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. So I'm going to show you some simple, easy techniques today, okay? So to get started, when I first started getting into sprouting, the first thing I looked at was I wanted to find a simple way to do it, because back then I was very, very ill, and I didn't have a lot of time to sprout and actually do all this. So I found the different sprouting techniques, and I looked up how long they soak the seeds for, how long they rinse for, and I basically put 2 different packages together that makes it like where you can sprout in like 10 seconds a day. So it's very, very simple. So the first one that I did was, the first one I found was actually the bean mix. And the bean mix has adzuki beans, mung beans, garbanzos, red lentils, and green lentils all mixed together. And all these beans, you can soak them the same time and it has the same rinsing time, so why not do them all together? That way you get a lot of different flavors all at once. So that's what I kind of started with this, and I had a mason jar. And very important when you get a mason jar, get the largemouth mason jar, and the reason being is you want to be able to get your hand in there if you have to. So very important to do that. So you get the mason jar, it has the mason jar lid, you can take that off for you. If you want a sprouting lids, let me show you. You can either use like a vinyl screen to put over the top of it, or you can use a nut milk bag like this to put over the top of it to use as a sieve on the top. Or you can get these little doodads here. These are called little sprout lids. And the yellow one here is for the very small seeds like the alfalfa, the broccoli, the clover, and the radish. The larger one here is for fenugreek, and the largest one here is for bean mix, and this one I'm going to show you today. Okay, so you take your bean mix one off, and these fit right on top, like so, and that acts as your sieve, so you can dump water out, you can rinse, you can do a lot of things with this lid, so it's kind of nice that you have that. So with bean mix, the first thing I discovered was that all beans, the yield is 1 to 3. So every one seed you put in, you'll get 3 times as much in sprouts. So I want to fill up the jar, any type jar that I have, if I have a smaller one or larger one, only fill it 1/3 of the way, because every one seed will be 3 times as much in sprouts. So if I fill this jar up 1/3 of the way, you'll actually get a whole jar full of sprouts at the end. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so the first thing I would do is you want to get certified organic seed. Very important to get certified organic seed. We have, I think, 22 different varieties of seed that we sell at gotsprouts.com. They're all certified, certified organic, non-GMO seeds. So very important you do that. You're going to take your seed, pour about 1/3 of it in. See that? So I did about 1/3 of the jar there. And what you want to do is you want to rinse this first. And the reason being is organic seed is usually processed with diatomaceous earth. And what that does is it actually keeps pests away from the seeds. So you want to rinse that out. So the first thing I would do is I'd fill this up with water, shake it really good, and then I would put the lid on like so. Tighten up very good. So this is full of water. You're going to rinse it out really good, and then you're going to pour it out. Okay, get all the water out of it, and then you're going to get ready to soak your seeds. Okay, so as soon as you rinse your seeds out, get all that diatomaceous earth, run through the water until the water runs clear. Okay, get everything out of there, and then you're going to fill this up all the way with water. So you're going to pour the water in. How would you do that? Put some water in. Take your top off here, and you're going to put this in here like this. And you remember these seeds are going to soak and they're going to get much larger. So you want to fill it about 3/4 of the way up with the water. Okay. And you'll see after I soak this for a little bit, you'll see the water start changing colors because I didn't rinse them. So that's why. Okay. So rinse your seeds first. You want to soak your seeds. I usually do this first thing in the morning. Put the top on and let it sit. Okay, so you're going to put the top on and let it sit 24 hours. So first thing in the morning, rinse your seeds out, soak them. Okay, you're going to soak them 24 hours. When you wake up the next morning, you're going to dump all the water out. You turn it like this, dump all the water out. Your seeds are going to be swollen a lot bigger, so they're not going to come out through the screen. So just dump all the water out like this. Okay. And then you're going to sit this up like on its side, but a little bit tilted like this. Like if it was in a dish drainer, or you can put it in a bowl in your sink, just kind of keep it up like this. You want to make sure that the seeds do not cover this entire spot, because this is the only place you're getting airflow through. So if you cut off the airflow, you're going to run into mold issues. So make sure you leave that as clear as possible and let it come through, okay? And let this sit throughout the day. When you wake up in the morning, or excuse me, this 24 hours, when you come home from work that night, or if you're sitting around about maybe 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, You want to rinse this out one more time, dump all the water out, and let it sit overnight like this, okay? Make sure your seeds are not covering this whole area, okay? The next morning, when you wake up in the morning, this is what your seeds will look like. Hope you can see this okay. It basically has little tails on the end of them. And we basically teach that once the tail is as large as the bean itself, that's the highest nutritional value for the sprout. So as soon as you sprout that, you start seeing the top like that, go ahead and put it in the refrigerator. So as soon as these sprout, this jar will be
Dad.
full. You're going to rinse it out really good and put it in the refrigerator and start eating it. So within 48 hours or so, you've got food ready to eat. Let me tell you a few recipes you can do with this. Hummuses. Anybody enjoy hummus? You can put them in a blender, blend it up really good, put a little lemon, a little cayenne pepper, a little oil in it for it. Blend it up really good so it's nice and creamy. You have hummus. You can make pâtés. You can add any spices or any flavors that you like to the beans. It's a pretty neutral flavored sprout. So you can add everything to it. So I do pâtés, I do nut butters, I do so many different things with the bean mix. So there's a lot of things you can do with this one. So I highly recommend the beans to do the first time because it only takes 48 hours and you've got food. Very simple, okay? So just to recap again, rinse your seeds out really good, soak them overnight, so 24 hours from morning to morning. That afternoon, rinse it out really good and rinse it out one more time. The next morning, when you wake up in the morning, it's going to have these little tails on them, and that's when you put them in the refrigerator and you can start eating them. Okay? Great things about bean mix. It's loaded with fiber, so it's really good for the digestive tract. It also is loaded with protein, so it's a really good protein supplement. So if you want to add some more energy into your body, you can use them for snack foods. My wife puts oil and vinegar, salt, and pepper on it. We use it for snack foods. Put them on top, sprinkle them on top of salads. You can put them in soups. You can actually juice them. It'll make your juice creamy like a smoothie. So a lot of neat little things you can do with the bean mix. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you do the bean mix first, okay? So that's a simple way. Everybody, any questions on that one so far? Everybody got it okay? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one.
Are you going to have these recipes printed out or instructions printed out, or do they come with instructions?
They usually come with instructions, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, they're very simple. If you go to our website, we're putting more recipes on all the time. So you'll get a lot on that. And also Linda's book that I showed you earlier is loaded with recipes. That's why I had her do the cookbook, because it's really, really good. It's a great thing to go with. So the next one we're going to start with, anybody other questions? We're good? Okay. The next one I want to show you is what they call an easy sprouter. And the reason why they call it an easy sprouter is because it's a lot easier than a mason jar, if you can believe that. So that was pretty simple. We're just going to keep getting simpler here. When you first get the easy sprouter, you'll see the directions on the back, step by step, how to do it. And then there's a direction book inside of it. And what I usually tell people is go to the last page on the instruction book. I looked over there. Anyway, on the last page of the instruction book, it has all the soaking times and all the rinsing times for all the seeds that you can do in this. So I highly recommend when you get it, pull out the instruction book and look at that first. That'll give you all the soaking times and rinsing times for all the different types of sprouts you can do in this. And I think there's like 22 different varieties of sprouts you can do in it. It's a very simple contraption. It's basically a solid pitcher that has no holes in it and a pitcher that has holes in it. Can you see that okay? Okay. And the pitcher that has holes in it, you're going to drop in there, so it's going to soak the water in there. You can do all things in there with that. There is a little insert inside the pitcher that has holes. I'll show you that. So there's a pitcher with holes. Here's the insert. This is for the smaller seeds. And the reason why you want to use this, and what I usually tell people is when you first get this, just pop this in the bottom of it and forget about it. Because all it does is it makes it the sieve a little bit tighter for the smaller seeds so they won't go through. So just pop that in and totally forget about it. It's perfectly fine. Okay. You're going to take your solid pitcher, take your pitcher that has the holes, drop that in here like this. Okay. There's another part that comes with it. It's a measuring cup, so you can actually measure your seeds. Put them in there as well. So let me do that. I'll show you. Let's do the next batch of seeds I like to use is what they call the brassicas. It's alfalfa, broccoli, clover, and radish. So just remember A, B, C, R. So alfalfa, broccoli, clover, and radish. So those little guys, they soak for about 6 to 8 hours, so not 24 hours like the bean mix, just 6 to 8 hours. So what I like to do with those is they have all the same soaking times and the same rinsing times, so why not do them all together? So you can take 1 teaspoon of each, 1 alfalfa, 1 broccoli, 1 clover, and 1 radish, put them in there, so it'll be about this much a seed, okay? Fill it with water. You don't really have to worry too much about the diatomaceous earth with the tiny seeds because there's not a lot on there. So you basically put them inside this, lift this up and dump all the water out and put it back in. And then you're gonna fill this up with water. So put your seeds in, fill up with water. And you're gonna soak it 6 to 8 hours. So what I like to do with these is I'll soak these right before I go to bed. So I'll soak them, I'll put the seeds in, fill this with water, go to bed. So it'll take about 30 seconds to do this, okay? Put this next to your sink, go to sleep. When you wake up in the morning, all you have to do is do this. Just lift this up. All the water will drain out and the seeds will be in the bottom of it, okay? Dump the water out. And then you're going to put it up like this. It has a little lip that you can put it on there. Everybody see that okay? So that creates airflow going all the way around it. And that really aerates the sprouts. Unlike, is everybody there still? Did I lose everybody? There you are. I think I lost everybody for a second here.
No, we're okay.
Over here? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So this creates natural airflow. So this actually aerates the sprouts really well so they grow quicker. So from the mason jar, that takes about 24 hours for the bean mix. The brassicas, which is the alfalfa, broccoli, clover, and radish, they take about 6 to 8 hours that you soak. You rinse them out really good, and then you set it up like this and let the airflow go through, okay? So you're gonna rinse these twice a day for 5 to 7 days. So twice a day. These are 1 to 5. So every 1 seed you put in here, you're gonna get 5 times as much in sprouts. So that 1 little teaspoon of sprouts we put in there, it's gonna fill this entire jar. So you don't need a lot of seed to actually work this, okay? So basically you're gonna sit it like this. In the morning, you're gonna take this underneath the sink, rinse it out really good. Just put the water through the top of it and rinse it out really good. Put it back in there like this, so it sits up. In the afternoon when you come home, rinse it out again. Let it sit up like this for 5 to 7 days. You're gonna rinse twice a day for 5 to 7 days. At the end of the 5 and 7 days, you're gonna get sprouts. I'm gonna show you what the radish looks like. This will kind of give you an idea. We grow these sprouts in soil, but this is kind of what it'll look like if you can see that. So you're gonna get a big handful of a lot of different types of sprouts there. So you'll have the alfalfa, the broccoli, the clover, and radish all mixed together. And it comes like a little bit clump. If you ever bought sprouts in a supermarket, if you bought alfalfa or clover or radish, and it's a big clump that comes out, that's because they're done in water. You can also grow them in soil, which is what we do here at Got Sprouts. But basically where you're gonna get the clump, it's gonna fill up this entire jar full of sprouts at that point. You wanna take all those sprouts out, put them on a paper towel and spread them out so they dry a little bit. So you wanna let them dry for a little bit. So put them on a paper towel, let them dry for a while. Once they're dry, you can put them back in the Easy Sprouter, drop this down, and then it comes with a bunch of tops. You have one that has solid and one that has holes. I like the one with holes so it lets the sprouts breathe. Put that on top and put it in the refrigerator when they're ready to eat. So I have 6 of these at home, 3 that are in the refrigerator all the time, and 3 that I start sprouting. So you always have a constant flow of sprouts coming in and out of your refrigerator. So it's a really great way to do it. So pretty easy, pretty simple. Anybody have questions on that? Sprouter? Pretty simple? Okay. The last one is even simpler. If you can believe we can make it even easier than this, we'll keep going. I had a great opportunity a couple years ago. Anybody know who Tony Robbins is? He's a motivational speaker. He actually, we became the wheatgrass people for him, and we got involved with this thing called a life mastery program that he does. And I got this phone call and he said, Sean, would you be interested in going to Spain to teach a class on sprouting over here? And I was like, yeah. So he flew us over to Tenerife in Spain. And before I left, a friend of mine called me up. It was from Europe, and she said, Sean, they don't have a lot of green things over on that island, so you want to bring your own food if you can. So I brought the bean mix with me. Remember the bean mix we did in the mason jar? So I brought a bag of that with me. I get to the hotel, and I brought an easy sprouter, or excuse me, a nut milk bag. This is what they call a nut milk bag or a sprouting bag. See this? Women call it lingerie bag as well. You can wash your lingerie in it. You can do a lot of things with this. So, but it's also great for food. So this is a nut milk bag or sprouting bag. You want to make sure when you get one of these that you actually get one with a string on it so that you can tie it like this. Very important you have a string on it, okay? I'll show you that in a little bit. So when I got to the hotel, I pulled out my bean mix, which I had my pound of bean mix with me, and I put it inside of my nut milk bag. And you remember I told you every one seed that's in here, you're going to get 3 times as much in sprouts? Well, I forgot that when I got to my hotel. So I'll tell you what happened. So you basically fill the bag up. You put about a third of this in your bag here like this. Tie this thing really tight. And I didn't have anything to soak it in, so I got one of those hotel buckets that you keep the ice in. And I put it inside the hotel bucket, filled that with water, and I soaked it for 24 hours, so morning to morning. The next morning, or that next morning when I woke up, I lifted this out of here and I went over to my sink, rinsed it out really good in my bathroom, and I hung it from the light fixture right over the sink. So it basically sat like this throughout the day. When I came home from the event, I rinsed it out really good and put it back up. Well, the next morning when I woke up, I totally forgot about the 1-to-3 ratio. This entire bag was filled with sprouts, brimming over, falling all over the bathroom area, and it was just quite embarrassing. And so we had to put the do not disturb sign up that day. But because I made so much, my wife basically took it. She went to the hotel kitchen area. She says, anybody in there speaks English? And one guy raised his hand. She took him around the kitchen area there, and they got onion spices, they got cumin, they got a lot of different spices. She took it, put it in a blender, and she made hummus, she made pâtés with it. She put a couple in our smoothies that we did. So all week long, we ate bean mix the entire week because I made way too much. 1 pound will give you 3 pounds of sprouts. 3 pounds is more than this bag. So it's a lot of sprouts. So we got to enjoy that. We put it on all our salads and our soups and sandwiches and all those entrees that we had. They're really known for their seafood over there. So we got a lot on seafood. So it's kind of interesting. But a good way to get a lot of protein that's easily digestible, really good for the gut, and really gives you energy, which is amazing for this. So highly, highly recommend the bean mix and the other ones. But do you see how easy the sprouting can be? So those are 3 different techniques that you can do. One's easier than the next. So if you just have a nut milk bag, you can sprout anything in this. Again, if you're doing the brassicas that we talked about on the easy sprouter, you're going to put a teaspoon of each in here, soak it for 6 to 8 hours. So do it right before you go to bed, soak it overnight. When you wake up in the morning, rinse them out really good, let it hang. You're going to rinse it out twice a day for 5 to 7 days, and this whole bag will be filled with sprouts for you. So at that point, you want to pull them out, dry them out, put them in the refrigerator, and start eating. So it's a great way to get really nutritious food into your body very quickly, very simply, that you can do this at home. If you wanted to get into the sprouting in soil, we can do that too as a little bit. But does anybody have questions on these 3 techniques? It's pretty simple, right? Think you can do this at home?
That was great. I'm looking. You can either unmute yourself, or I can look for your hand if you had a question for Sean. Let's see, I'm trying to see if anyone, or you can also use the chat if you have a question. Let's see. Does anyone have a question or a comment?
So I know Sean sells the seeds, but can you buy them locally?
You can try, like Whole Foods, you might try and see if they have anything good there. Trying to think if any supermarkets. We have Nutrition Smarts down here. It's a small organic market. So any organic market may carry seeds, so you can look at that, see if you can find those. If you go on Amazon, of course, there's millions of different seeds sellers there as well. We're a little bit different because we actually got into it for health reasons. So we started working with cancer patients was the first group that we worked with. And then we're doing a lot of Crohn's people now because I had Crohn's, so I had a lot of digestive issues. So any people with digestive issues, we talk about that quite a bit. But we grow in soil mostly. And the reason being is because it gives a lot more minerals to it. What I showed you today is a really quick way to get food into your body as quickly as possible, some good nutritious food into your body. When you start growing in soil, it takes a little bit longer, but the flavors are amazing, so it's really worth it. So that's kind of how we started. But as far as seed, look for certified organic. Very important you find certified organic. A lot of farms out there are saying they're organic, but they're not. They have to be certified, which means a third party comes in and goes and researches where the seeds came from to make sure they're processed organically, and then the next step to sell them organically. So there's another trick with that too.
One of the comments was, where can we find more recipes?
Yeah, if you go to godsprouts.com, you'll see some recipes on there too as well. We're trying to add more things right now. We're in the process of redoing our website. So I gave you all the techniques of how to sprout. So all the directions are underneath each seed, which is good. And then we'll start adding recipes over the next couple of weeks. So you'll see a lot of those as well. But highly recommend Linda's book. If you can find this Simple Easy Green, I'm sure it's on Amazon as well. It's Sprouting, or Simply Sprouts, I'm sorry, Simply Sprouts. It's her cookbook here. But it has breakfast, lunch, and dinner recipes, all using sprouts. It's really good recipes.
And someone else had more questions with Crohn's. Is it okay if I share your email with them?
Sure.
Okay, just the one at your Got Sprouts?
Yeah, Sean at Got Sprouts. Sean is SEAN at gotsprouts.com.
Okay, great, thank you. And another comment was someone said they've used Got Sprouts and they have excellent seeds.
What we try to do too with our seeds is if we find a good batch of seeds, they call it a lot of seeds. It's a lot number that comes with the seeds. We'll try to buy the entire lot. So we'll buy truckloads of seeds and store them in a nice, very chilled area. When you get your seeds, keep them in a cool, dark, dry place. Very important that you do that because these are organic seeds. So if it starts heating up, whatever's in there could start hatching. So just warning you, keep them in a cool, dark, dry place. These haven't been treated by any chemicals.
Any other questions? You can unmute yourself, or I'm looking for hands if you're having trouble unmuting. Oh, looks like we're all set. Well, thank you so much, Sean. This was wonderful. If anyone would like me to email them Sean's information, you can always email me. And otherwise, thank you so much for being here.
All right, happy sprouting, everybody.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sean.
Good luck.
Bye.
Any questions?
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.